Hello, I'm Ms. Zorab and this is Byther Farm, and today I'm doing some tidying up. This mint plant has got really scruffy and straggly. A lot of it is looking quite dried out and tired, so I'm going to give it a drastic haircut, cut it down really hard, let it regrow. I can try and get some of the weeds out that are probably competing for nutrients. Mint doesn't need an awful lot of nutrients, but it does need water, and I suspect it's really suffering with dry weather. So I've cut half of it away, so I'm trying to show you how much of this hasn't got any growth, hasn't got any leaves on it, so struggling for the light. So I've cut it right down here. I can try and pull some of this out. Looks like there are potatoes growing in here as well, and everything I've cut off the mint plant is going onto the compost heap. One of the other tasks that I want to do today is to harvest all the broad beans from this bed, or at least the ones that are ready. On this side I've got a variety called Bunyard's Exhibition. They are big, fat, healthy looking pods, and these are pretty healthy looking beans. These are a good size, so they're an inch or so long and about an inch wide. They look great. I will save some of the beans to use as seeds next year. Previously in the autumn I sowed Aqua Dulce beans. This year I sowed them in very early spring, and I've had a great crop from them. So I'm not in any rush to sow them in the autumn again. Now, these don't look so good at all. These have got a black something on them. Have they just rotted off? I don't know. Do you know what this is? It's almost like, I don't know, this doesn't look very good. I haven't noticed this before. So the ribs of the beans are still green, but the fleshy pod bit is black and wrinkly. Could be as they're on a corner that a cat has sprayed on them. Might that have done it? Because the ones that aren't in a corner don't look like this. I think I'm going to put these ones in a bin and dispose of them. I'm not really even very keen on putting them on the compost heap in case that is an issue that will then sit in the soil. But it is only this one corner. All the other beans look fine. Before I take these plants out completely, I will go through and harvest the tips because they're really tasty, and absolutely no reason not to get another meal from these plants if I can. Well, I've just found the labels for the broad beans, and I was completely wrong about which was which. So the ones on the near side are not Bunyard's Exhibition. The one on the further side are the Bunyards, and actually they haven't done nearly as well as I might have wanted them to. So we have got broad beans, but they're not terribly big. Whereas the ones in these very big pods, there's a variety called Express. These look great. So everything I said about the Bunyards looking great are actually the Express, and I will be growing those next year. The size of the bean is just a world away from the Bunyards. They're in the same bed. They will have had the same amount of water, and I will see if there's a difference in taste that's a big enough difference to justify having these little beans over the bigger ones. That will be interesting, but I suspect I'll be growing the slightly larger ones. So having harvested the express beans from this side and a few of the Bunyard's exhibition from that side, I'm actually going to cut these plants down now. I'll harvest any growing tips as I go, and as with other beans, I'm not going to be pulling the roots up. I'm just cutting them off at ground level and leaving the roots in there so that any nitrogen fixing nodules are left in the ground. I don't know whether that helps at all. It is my belief that it does. So these beans with the black on them, I'm going to put all of those plants into a bin and not have them in the compost heap. But these ones, oh, and it's still got a bean on it. These ones I'm keeping, and they'll straight onto the compost heap. Last year this bed had brassicas in it, and the year before that it had runner beans. And one of the things I did with the runner beans was to do exactly as I'm doing now, just cut them off at ground level. In fact, the runner beans, I left about 4 to 5 inches of stem, and then I mulched very heavily. Then I had the brassicas in here, and really nicely some of those runner beans regrew, which is why I then decided I would try growing runner beans as a perennial. Well, this year, over on that side, the runner bean has indeed grown back. So there were a lot of plants in this bed, and I'm interested to see in their third year how many have come back up. So I think there were about 24 plants in here, maybe more. Last year I think 5 or 6 regrew, and I can certainly see one, it may be more over there, and when we get round that side we'll have a proper look. I'm not doing this in any great rush, because it gives me a chance to check over and see if I've missed any beans that are likely to have something in their pods. There's quite a lot of very immature ones here, and no doubt if I'd left the plants longer we'd have had more, but we have got plenty of beans in the freezer already. I'm quite comfortable that with what we've got, and I'm harvesting now, we'll have enough to see us through right through the winter. Doing this slowly and taking my time over it gives me a chance to also pull out pernicious weeds that are just starting to spread, and to have a really good look, make sure there are no weeds going to seed, and if there are, to make sure I've removed them completely and disposed of them. And to be honest, I don't feel the need to race when I'm gardening. I actually quite like it to be a fairly slow, methodical, gentle process, and to just work with the rhythm of the day and just enjoy it. So when you harvest your beans, do you cut them off and leave the roots in? Do you pull them out and then chop them off and just leave the bundle of roots on the surface, or do you get rid of the whole plant? I'll be interested to know how many people leave the roots in, and how many lift them completely and take everything, including the roots, away. When I started to cut this plant down, I noticed what I thought could be bindweed, but it's not. This is another one of our runner beans that were planted here 2 years ago. So I'm going to carefully unwind it and really hope that I don't break it. So this is very definitely a runner bean coming from down there. I will get a cane and build a tripod, because there are some here and some just there. So we can have a tripod of beans here, and I'll be really careful as I go through to make sure that I'm not snipping any others off. This one's doing so well, I can already see flower buds forming on it. So here it is. I've managed to extricate this from the chard which I was leaving to go to seed, and this was using it as a support. I'm definitely going to get a tripod in and get these growing. So I've got two very definite plants. I think there could be a third one a bit further down as well. I'm really pleased. So I don't have a bed full of them, and the bed that I cut back and left last year, as yet there's no sign of any, and I would hope that they would be this tall by now. So perennial runner beans, are they a success? Well, partially. I don't think we can call this a failure, but not a resounding success. So I'll continue to try. I will leave the beans in the beds again this year and see what happens. Over in the bed where the Greek Gigantes beans were last year, there's also a plant growing back. Unfortunately, when I cleared the space to put some potatoes in, I lifted a whole load of those plants, and they didn't transplant very well, and so they didn't survive. But there are a couple in that bed that I didn't lift. They are growing away like mad, and they don't just send up a single shoot, they're sending up 4, 5 and 6, and just like these are. So really pleased about that.